I've been playing tabletop games my entire life, and yet somehow I've never played Warhammer. So I picked up a new Recruit Edition, and I'm going to give it a try. We've got transfers, bases, sprues containing 20 unassembled minis, some dice, a double-sided gaming mat, data sheets, range rulers, and this 64-page recruit manual, which is full of Warhammer history, lore, building instructions, game rules, and photos of many, many painted minis to get me inspired. This being my first experience with Warhammer, I wanted to start with the most iconic image from the game, the Space Marine. This unit is called an Assault Intercessor. I removed the pieces of the mini from the sprues and assembled him following the instructions in the book. These models don't require glue, but I chose to add a tiny bit of Gorilla Glue gel to make the assembly as permanent as possible. Once I had him assembled, I grabbed some basing material from the Army Painter and, using some PVA glue, added some ground texture and a rock to make the base a little more interesting. I primed the mini with black Stynylrez primer and gave him a little bit of a zenithal highlight with white before moving on to the base coat. I wanted to try my best to recreate the box art using paints I already owned. So I did my best to approximate my eye, and by using the paint color comparison chart that I've linked in the description. I've also listed all of the paints that I'm using in this video if you want to compare them yourself. I chose to paint my base coat with my airbrush since the model is mainly one color and I wanted it to look as smooth as possible. Now that I've primed and base coated the model using my airbrush, I can break out my actual brushes and get to work on all the details and the highlighting. The first non-blue part of the mini I paint is the black under armor, which can be seen at his knees, elbows, waist, and neck. While I'm painting the black, I also paint the black parts of the gun and the chainsword. After I'm finished with the black, I move on to his belt and all the leather pouches that hang from it. Then I apply a wash of Agrax Earthshade over all of the leather bits. While the wash is drying, I go back to black and start lining all of the panels and little details with a tiny brush. Next, I start painting the gold parts, such as the decorations on the chest and left arm, and the trim around the shoulder pads. I paint parts of the backpack, helmet, holster, gun, and chainsword silver. After the gold and silver are dry, I apply a wash to both. Reikland Fleshshade for the gold and Nuln oil for the silver. Then I go back over both with the original gold and silver to highlight the areas a little bit. Being super careful, I paint the lenses on the helmet red. Next, I begin the process of edge highlighting the entire mini. This is the step that will really make the blue armor pop and bring him closer to the look I'm trying to achieve. I paint the parchment of the purity seal white and the wax red. I apply an Agrax Earthshade wash to both, and then highlight the raised parts. I also go back to the leather pouches and fix the highlights on those. With everything pretty much done, I go back to my base color blue and fix all of my many mistakes. After all the blue was cleaned up, I moved on to applying my first ever transfers. I did this simply by wetting the surface I was applying them to, holding the paper in a cup of water for 30 seconds with some tweezers, and sliding the transfer onto the mini with a brush. If you have any tips and tricks for applying these, please let me know. I know I can do better next time. I finished up this mini by painting the base a mixture of a few different browns, painting the rock to look like a rock, and painting the rim of the base black. I dry brushed a lighter gray on the top parts of the rock and a muddy brown on the bottom. I also did a light dry brush over all of the brown ground texture. Lastly, I added a couple tufts of gamer's grass to complete the base. And with that, I've finished my first ever Space Marine. I hope you enjoyed watching me paint my first Space Marine as much as I enjoyed doing it. This was my first foray into the world of Warhammer, but it certainly won't be my last. If you enjoyed something in this video, please leave a comment below, and I'm always looking for suggestions, tips, tricks, anything that could make my painting or the channel better, please let me know. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe before you leave so you never miss a video, and thank you again for watching.